Well, welcome back to our video series here on the amazing Sunmark Internship program. I'm delighted to be joined by a brilliant student, Sewar, who's here, who's going to talk to us about her internship experience. Sewar, thank you for joining us. Your interest, I think, is one of the more complex interests.
Yeah.
Your subject is biochemistry, is that right?
Yeah, and pharmaceuticals, so drug development,
And
biochemistry.
pharmaceuticals,
Yes.
Okay. I remember having a conversation with you some time ago where you went into great detail with me about this, and I'm being particularly impressed with your ambition and your humility.
Thank you.
And also just your sharp thinking. But this is a tough internship, isn't it?
It has been. It's been
pharmaceuticals is not a walk in the park. So just tell me a little bit about what you hope to gain from the internship.
Yeah. Well, walking into the internship, I knew that I was going to learn a lot more about the pharmaceutical industry. And I was particularly interested in the medicine aspect, so developing the drugs. But I feel like I've gotten to know all the other branches that we don't see. It takes a whole group of people to get medicine from being discovered in a lab to being delivered to the customer. You need a marketing department, you need a legal department. And it was interesting to see how it wasn't just the scientists that we needed, it was also the organizers and the managers and the human resources. So
that's a really great observation, Sewar, because I think most people, when they think about internships, it's a little bit like being a little child, isn't it? When what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, I'd like to be a train driver or a pilot or something, and you just think that the entirety of the job is that one public-facing aspect. But what you're just saying there is that you suddenly discover there's this whole other range that maybe you knew a little of, but not the detail that you had in the legality and the marketing, for instance, of that, and how important that is. Just help me understand what which company was it that you went to do?
Takeda Pharmaceuticals.
Takeda Pharmaceuticals, who I know did a brilliant job of their internship program. So tell me what it was that they did that enabled you to capture the real size of the job or the industry that you were thinking of.
Yeah.
How long were you there for? How long was the internship?
4 days, but it did feel like much longer than 4 days.
Did it? So they obviously, they packed it full of experiences for you. So how did they, before we explore some of those experiences, just tell me how they structured it so that you got a sense of the magnitude of the profession.
I think one of my favorite bits about it was at the very beginning. The HR manager, human resources, showed us this really inspiring video clip about a family with a particular disease. And what I loved about that video clip was that it showed the company's core values. So this company was founded in Japan, and one of the things that I believe makes it really unique is its moral compass. We know when we tend to think about pharmaceuticals, a lot of us sometimes tend to go in, they want to rob us of our money, or medicines are way too expensive, but you don't really get to see the behind the scenes and the people who go into this industry with a lot of purpose, with a lot of passion, because the people who've introduced themselves and spoken to us, you can tell that they're in this job because they understand that it's more than just charging for Panadol or anything. It really is about how can I improve someone's life? How can I transform someone's life? And especially nowadays with those very particular unique diseases such as neurodegenerative diseases. So we don't make a lot of progress in things such as cancer. We tend to treat it, but we in these companies we tend to look further as well. How can we cure it? How can we look at the genetic aspect or the genetic element? What can we do to effectively free someone from a life full of radiation treatments and sickness and illness? And I think starting with that definitely made it worthwhile, definitely gave us a sense of purpose and inspired me personally. I wasn't really sure whether I wanted to go into pharmaceuticals, but that was a life-altering moment, if you could say.
How brilliant. And that's absolutely, and congratulations to Takeda Pharmaceuticals for actually understanding that sense of purpose, which we know well here at Sunmark School because we have our whole program of positive education and the importance of character and values. But how wonderful for you to actually understand from your internship introduction that actually this is all about purpose. This isn't about, I mean, ultimately, of course, every business to a certain extent is about profit margins, but ultimately what really drives people is that sense of purpose and trying to do good in the world. That's brilliant. So let's just return to that theme that you mentioned before, Sewar, around the other aspects. So if I were interested in biochemistry, and if I were thinking, I might want to work in pharmaceuticals, and I think I would very definitely be focused on actually producing that tablet and seeing what effect it has. But you discovered this whole other pantheon of things to do with legal and marketing behind it. How much opportunity did you get to engage with those other aspects of the company beyond that obvious side of medicine?
So when I applied, I did specify that I was interested in biochemistry, and I did get to speak to a doctor, and it was really interesting. But also, one of the tasks that we were given was try and find out what problems the pharmaceutical industry might face. So we got to reach out to different department heads. What challenges do you have in your department? And one department that I really enjoyed was the marketing department. I initially thought this was going to be marketing the product, but then I found out that there are legalities concerned, and the company doesn't really focus on marketing the products to customers. It leaves that to the doctors to prescribe. The marketing aspect was about the pipeline and how we deliver these drugs to different countries. And I became more aware of, for example, underdeveloped countries, it is difficult to give specific treatments or for these unique diseases because obviously there isn't a demand. And perhaps the economy of that country doesn't support those drugs and diseases. So what I like about Takeda Pharmaceuticals, and I'm sure a lot of other companies do that as well, is that they look at it case by case. So every country they take in, what is your economic situation like? How many patients do you have with so-and-so diseases? How can we provide this medicine to you? How can we fund it? So they do look at that to make sure that the whole burden doesn't fall on the patient and the patient's family, because that can be really tough.
That's a great learning experience you've been on there, Sewar, because the depth of which you're speaking shows the value of an internship in the sense that it connects you with professionals that see it in a different way from the way you understood it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a wonderful thing that Takeda Pharmaceuticals have managed there to actually give you an opportunity to have that experience of, wow, I didn't realize this was there. If you could replay the experience of having the internship again, is there anything that you would have done differently, that you would have explored further than you actually did, or other experiences you would have liked to have had?
I think one thing that I did notice was that there were a lot of people from other schools as well, and I did reach out to some of them, but I would have liked to know what their perspective was, what they gathered from this work experience, what fields they wanted to go to, make those early connections on, because I feel like that would be beneficial in the future, because the more interlinked you are, the more people you know, the more beneficial.
Networking is always key, isn't it? Well, look, Sewar, I have absolutely no doubt at all that you're going to have a highly successful career ahead of you. Congratulations on completing a brilliant internship with Takeda Pharmaceuticals, and thank you for talking for me today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.